kind of got a je ne sais quoi, you know what I mean? A je ne sais quoi. What's up, guys? Welcome back. I realized since I film about a week ahead that this is going to be my sick week. And by the time you see it, I will probably be well again, fingers crossed. So don't feel sorry for me. By the time you're seeing this, I'm already fine. So today I am super excited to be doing a French girl inspired makeup look. I say French girl inspired because am I French? I don't think so. I'm mostly Irish and Italian with some other little smatterings in there somewhere. But the reason that I was inspired to do this is just because I have gotten to know this skin tint recently from a brand called Typology. So this is the serum, I'm just gonna say tint, because T-E-I-N-T-E. I don't even know where to begin there. My mouth does not do a French accent, and so I'm just not going to offend anyone. The cool thing about this, first of all, is the price. So these are $25.80 a piece, and if you are between shades, you pay full price for one and half price for the other. I wasn't sure what my shade was. I ended up being just the one shade, but I now have this one for the summertime or to mix in or what have you. Comes in glass, just kind of all around really accessible and smart. So I'm going to pull y'all in. We are going to do some color correction because the acne situation is real. I'm gonna get into it a little bit, but also we're going to do some like selective coverage and stuff and really just try and get a very effortless looking face of makeup with very few products. So that is what I'm hoping to achieve today. We'll see if we get there. Let's go ahead and jump in. That was not at all how I imagined that intro going. So I told you guys a while ago that a viewer facilitated me getting hooked up with some Canadian products, and one of them was the Lise Watier color cancellation wheel that I had been wanting for a while. I am using a little bit of the green, and you can definitely see the green of it, but to cancel out some of that redness, because this typology, it's absolutely beautiful, but it doesn't have a whole lot of coverage. Not totally sure how this works. There is a diagram somewhere, but I lost that diagram. So yeah, I was floating along on the pink cloud of pregnancy hormones for a long time and had just pleasantly forgotten, conveniently forgotten, that my skin really likes to break out, and I kind of, in some strange portion of my brain, thought that we were past it. We're not past it. No, we're not. I am still afflicted with the adult acne of it all, and I am still afflicted with the proclivity towards picking, and I cannot believe how much shame I felt about falling victim to it. I am so surprised. I'm so surprised, A, that I did fall victim to it, but B, that after preaching so much self-forgiveness having to do with the picking ceremony and the cycle of it and everything, that all it took was to just have a few blemishes that I caved in on and that didn't work out, because if you do aim to pick something and it does pop in a really satisfying way, you completely forgive yourself, okay? That's how picking works. But when it doesn't work out and you just end up with this really nasty sore spot, you feel so much shame. And I thought that I was going to be more self-forgiving, more resilient, and I just am not. And so I have reordered my Curology. I just talked to my new consulting physician today. They have, like, you know, dermatologists or whatever that they have reach out to you to verify your formula and stuff. So I have my new Curology coming, and it's got clindamycin in it, which is what helped my skin the last time. I'm also, you know, back to using my light stim for acne, just stimming it up, but also I'm sick. So I've been doing a lot of things just to kind of hydrate my skin, because I feel like cold medicine and maybe the poor sleep and just generally not taking good care of myself while I'm sick, you know, not being hydrated and stuff, makes my skin just reflect the tiredness. So feeling generally gray and depleted at the moment, and we're going to try and counterbalance that as well as we can today. So that was, while I was running my mouth, the Typology. Guys, I'm obsessed with this. And I know we have tried lots and lots of skin tints on my channel, but there is a coalescing of things that have to align for a skin tint to feel worth it to me. One of the biggest ones is price, because when you're talking about a skin tint, right, it has to do something fairly miraculous to warrant making me pay a lot of money for it, because there are a lot of really beautiful, lovely textures that you can pay very little money for on the market, depending on what ingredients agree with your skin and what have you. But this is affordable. They are accommodating for people who are between different shades, and it's absolutely gorgeous on the skin. So we will get into the claims and whatnot in a minute, and I will talk about, like, you know, a little bit more in depth on the ingredients and stuff, but that was the shade 1, and I actually will go ahead and swatch number 2 against number 1 if that is helpful for you guys. So I could ostensibly use the second shade as like a bronzer almost. In fact, why not? It's so lightweight, it's not like it's gonna build up and get gummy. I'm not afraid of that happening, so let's go ahead and use it to tan my skin just a little bit. And also, you guys know that I am not always a fan of applying complexion products with my fingers, but that is such an agreeable and kind of self-leveling formula that it felt easier to do that than to put it on a sponge. But in this case, I am going to sponge this just because I only want it in specific spots. You know, there are also tricks of the trade having to do with using a slightly deeper shade of foundation and using that as your whole base and then selectively brightening. It's almost like a reverse bronzing routine kind of thing, or reverse foundation routine. So that's super duper pretty. You can still see my freckles. I probably honestly like rubbed away a lot of the color correction that I put on underneath there, but that's fine. So I'm going to use my Kosas concealer. I feel like it very well mimics the dry down and the finish and the consistency of that Typology skin tint, but it's higher coverage. I will never be over this concealer. It's just such a good concealer. I used to watch Violette a lot. That's actually how I discovered Sophia Rowe. If you follow me on Instagram, you know my obsession with Sophia Rowe. Violette, she does the French girl thing obviously very well, because it's very much who she is. But her whole thing she talks about is don't put makeup on your nose. I always thought that was funny. She's like, don't put complexion product on your nose because it's a dead giveaway that you're wearing makeup. I think everybody's face is different, and obviously that works for her. And I've just found that my complexion product, I need to put it on my nose because my nose is always so like red. Otherwise it'll look really obvious that I don't have makeup on my nose. But even if it doesn't work for you, it's interesting to see people's different approaches to hacking the routine of trying to look like less is more. And a lot of times less is more makeup takes longer to put on because you are being so selective. It's not just kind of like layer, 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 kind of mindless brushing on. I always found that when I did like Glossier tutorials, they actually took longer a lot of times than like a full beat. So, complexion, complete. I'm very, very happy with that. Again, I have no idea whether my color correction even did anything, but I love the way that that skin tint and that concealer work together. I think they're absolutely beautiful. And even though I probably won't get very much use out of the deeper shade of the tint, I'm so glad that I got it. I feel like it did make a difference, kind of giving me a little bit of a bronze, and that means I don't have to reach for a bronzer. So for my cheeks, I'm going for the Danessa Myricks Vision Flush in Bread and Butter. And I'm using this because it is super agreeable. You can put very little on and you get a lot of impact, and it does have its own dry down to a certain extent that mimics the dry down on the complexion products and doesn't get all gummy. Plus, this particular shade, it actually reminds me a lot of the Westman Atelier Petal shade. that I used to say was, you know, just the most dialed in pink for my skin. It's one of the only, I don't know, shade families, shade values that I feel like I can wear like alone. You know what I mean? Just that, and not necessarily layer something else on top of it. That's not to say that I'm not going to layer something else on top of it, but I could wear this alone. Like when I went on my honeymoon, I took a really, really minimal face of makeup with me, and the only blush that I brought was the Westman Atelier Petal, and this one, again, is just like very, very similar. Gives me this very put together look with very, very little effort. As far as my eyes are concerned, I do want to go for something that is a quote one and done eyeshadow, and the best one that I have, really, like the most wearable one that I have, is the Oyster Pearl Eyes to Mesmerize from Charlotte Tilbury. In fact, I wore just this recently in a video, and everyone asked what was on my eyes, and it is just this. Finally got used to using it. I was definitely in this camp of like, well, I just don't think that that's enough. Maybe I'm not a one and done person. I like to have contour to my eyes, but I think that any makeup look can be like adaptable to a minimal application as long as the other products that you put on your face kind of meet it. And even if that's not your shade, it is a really, really lovely formula. It doesn't completely dry down, so, you know, be careful with that. I don't want anybody to expect it to, but you can set it with something or just put a little bit of like a glitter on top or anything really and get a little bit more wear time out of it. Now, when it comes to a minimal face of makeup, I am a big fan of still nailing the details, even if it's in a really subtle way. And so for me, it makes a big difference to still do a little bit of eyeliner, but it's not going to be a very graphic eyeliner like I typically would. So I'm just taking an eyeliner smudge brush here from Thrive, and I'm dipping it into a brown shade here, and I'm just gonna kind of smudge that right on my lash line and a little bit past my lashes. That's the reason that I wear eyeliner, is to make my eyes look farther apart. So just a little dab. And what I'm doing really is just packing it right into my lashes to make my lashes look thicker. All right, the other things that become very important are sort of defining the lines, because everything is kind of so blurred and fuzzy. And we love blur, we do, but for me, it comes down to getting my eyelashes and my eyebrows defined, and it just kind of feels like you are pulling your face into focus in the right ways. A little fluff on the eyebrows. A little bit of my Thrive mascara. I have been trying the new Bite mascara with the Upswing eyeliner. They sent me both. And they are fine, but they are not waterproof. And I feel bad, but it's like, I just honestly like don't really have time for something that's not a tubing formula when it comes to a mascara. I don't feel like it's a huge time commitment to put on a couple of coats of mascara, but if it feels kind of tedious to you, it can be helpful to just do the outer lashes sometimes, just kind of the outer third, and it'll save you a little bit of time too, and it'll just look really, really like casual. So, the last thing when it comes to, I don't know, like really nailing down this, oh, this old thing kind of makeup look is this lip for me. It just says French girl vibes for some reason, especially because there isn't really much of a focal point happening here. And you guys know I don't typically go for my lips as the focal point, but this is the Merit Beauty Sangria. This is their lip oil. And this is not typically like a formula that I would write home about, you know? I'm usually more into like bouncy lip glosses or just something that's a little bit more committal one way or the other. There's something about this lip oil that is easy to wear and not super like staining. But it does have a little bit more wear time than the lip oils, like pigmented lip oils that I'm used to wearing. And it's incredibly lightweight. But typically I wouldn't be able to wear like a rougey red bricky shade on my lips like that, but for whatever reason it just gives me this very flattering, I just ate a popsicle kind of vibe, and I just feel like it just nails it down. It's kind of got a je ne sais quoi, you know what I mean? A je ne sais quoi. This girl speaks French. I do want to do just a tiny bit more blush, and I think I'm going to go with the same blush just for the sake of simplicity. In fact, I think that most French girls would tell me to use my lip color on my cheeks, so maybe we'll just do that. And by maybe, I mean I just did it. And for all of the actual French girls, or French Canadian girls, or whomever, who watch my channel and you're like, you're an idiot. We don't all do our makeup the same way, and this whole French girl vibes thing, this Parisian vibes thing is just so silly. Why are, you know, we don't distill you down to the way Americans do makeup, where, you know, you don't all do your makeup like Kardashians or anything. I apologize. I apologize. You know, it's a way of communicating a certain aesthetic, and we do envy your effortlessness. And, you know, sometimes it's hard for me to dial back even my own ways that I'm accustomed to seeing my own face, and so I need something to aim for, and it's your titular aesthetic. So I apologize if it's a misnomer for you. So let's talk about Typology's skin tint here, because that's the star of the show today, and you'll get a chance to marvel at my effortless face of makeup in the meantime. Tinted Serum, Vitamin C, Squalane, and Aloe Vera. A silicone-free, non-clogging tinted serum for light coverage and a natural, no makeup finish. I'm very impressed that this is silicone-free because it has its own dry down and it is blurring. Two things that I normally associate with having at least some kind of silicone in it, and it really, really mimics it without having that. Formulated with Vitamin C for radiance and Squalane and Aloe Vera for deep, long-lasting hydration, 99% naturally derived formula. So this is mainly a skincare company. And they just happen to come out with a tinted version of a serum in their own words. You know, they have a lot of, you know, night serums, moisturizers, eye contour, scrubs and peels. Not a fan of that. Hydrolates and toners, botanical oils, makeup remover, basically just an extensive range of skincare. And I think this is their first true makeup complexion pigment kind of product. There are only 6 shades, and the deepest is, you know, a dark chocolate. I would like to think that when it spreads out really nice and thin, that it would work on most deep skin tones, but I don't actually know. The main thing here is that in terms of like an arbitrary like scale of 0 to 10 in terms of coverage, I would call this like a 1 or like a 0.75. So we're talking more texture than actual coverage here. It's just a really, really nice like blurring serum that happens to have like a little bit of pigment. So I would assume, maybe incorrectly, that most people could find a shade in this, and like I said, if you were to be between shades, it would cost you, what would that be, 25 plus 12, so like, you know, $37 or something to buy 2 of them and mix them together. So that is still pretty good. You still end up with 2 ounces of product. Made in France, fragrance-free, vegan, naturally derived. So it says each tinted serum can offer light coverage for a wide spectrum of skin tones. Our 6 shades were developed using the Fitzpatrick phototype scale, which takes into account factors like skin tone and reactions to sun exposure. Type 1, fair with cool undertones. Type 2, light. Type 3, medium. Type 4, tan. Type 5, medium dark. And type 6, dark. The shade for dark brown skin with naturally cold undertones that rarely sunburns. Tinted serum may appear too light or too dark immediately upon application. Wait for it to dry fully to ensure that the shade matches your skin tone. Think of our 6 shades as a guide. The serum offers light coverage, so each shade will in fact work for several different undertones. And typically when I hear that, I think, okay, that's just one big excuse for not putting out an inclusive shade range, and that these brands love to say things like, oh, well, you know, it's self-adjusting, like it has some kind of intelligence built into it. But guys, I mean, we're talking so low coverage. It is mostly, like I said, a skincare texture on the skin. Okay, so let's hop into final thoughts, because I know a lot of you guys were really, really curious about how I was feeling about this after using it for a while. I honestly think this hits all the marks. First of all, it's super affordable for like a luxury product, and it's still giving me a super luxury vibe when I use it. And unlike the Curewise dropper, this one actually works. That's something that is really annoying about some of these like elegant eyedropper kind of delivery systems. The M Cosmetics one and the Curewise liquid foundation one, both of them trap air, and so you have a lot of trouble getting it out of the eyedropper. That's not the case with this. Comes in this beautiful frosted glass. It is super low coverage, but for something silicone free, I mean, even for something, if it did have silicone in it, absolutely beautiful blurring finish. It wears a long time, and it wears in instead of wearing off. So it does really operate on your skin. It behaves like a skincare product. And I find that my skin is so much happier when I'm wearing this. I really feel like if this is the product that, you know, you were going into with the expectation of, I just want a really blurring situation on my skin, I want it to be low coverage, I want it to look effortless, and I want to, you know, kind of mindlessly put my makeup on in the morning, especially for the price. You know, this is one of those products that a lot of times, because it's so simple and because it's so elegant, we would expect to pay 3 times the price for it. It's kind of incredible that it is so affordable and it does behave the way that it does. It is honestly like one of the only products that I found in a long time that really like manages to hit all of the marks in such an elegant way. So yeah, I really like it, and it's like hard to even talk about something that you just are kind of super pleased by, because it's like, okay, well, you know, how many details can I talk about something that I just really like? I just really like it, and I think that it's really pretty, and it's inspired me to want to update my, you know, best and worst skin tints video, because it not only makes me so happy, but it makes me realize by contrast how unnecessary some of the other skin tints that I've tried lately are. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. If you did find this valuable, do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, I promise I won't be sick soon. Hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you guys did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.